Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from that Knife Center.
Which Knife Center?
You know the one over there. And it's time for roll the credits.
And that's going in.
Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's that time of the week where we get to take a look at the coolest new knives that have hit our shelves in the last week. Let's check them out. All right, real quick before we get to the new knives, I've actually got a giveaway to let you guys know about. And this is actually happening over on our Instagram profile. So we're gonna leave a link to the post down in the description, and that'll give you the full rules. But SOG have graciously provided us with an extra one of these Ultra XRs to give away to you guys there. This is one of the new updated models where they've revamped some of the old money clip knives, and this new version I think is very cool. It's still really nice and slim, very easy to carry. You got that nice wide clip there, deep carry, so it'll bury in your pocket, and it's also wide enough you can carry a few bills or cards there if you like. But best of all, the blade. S35 VN on this thing, under 3 inches, so it's a great little size. You've got some great edge retention, and the blade itself is nice and thin, so it's gonna slice very nicely. And then of course, their XR lock, which they've been updating across their lineup. It's a crossbar style lock, similar to an Axis lock. Well, it is the same genre of lock as the Axis lock. You can pull those bars back, flick the blade open or closed, or of course you can use the thumb cutout there to open it more deliberately. Really cool little knife. Thanks to SOG for providing this and letting us get this into your guys' hands. Full rules at the link below. All right, the first one I want to show you is, you've actually seen this knife a little bit from us already, but we've got a new variant of the Reich Tulay. And this is another Knife Center exclusive variation of this knife, and I think the best looking one yet. It is, of course, this knife is the first integral G10 production folder out there. The handle is a single piece of G10 with some inlays on it. And in this case, we've got black G10 with these really nice carbon fiber inlays. I think it has the classiest look out of all the versions of this knife that are out there so far. And it's just a really cool design. If you haven't seen it already, like I said, integral G10 construction, and you've got an inset liner lock there just on one side, bolted right here to the frame itself. And that holds the blade open, and it is a 3.6-ish inch blade, 154 cm steel. My favorite part about this knife, though, is not the integral G10 construction, which is nice. But overall, it's just a really good design, and the blade geometry is that part that is my absolute favorite of this knife. We've got a very nice thin blade going on here with a nice high flat grind, just a very effective slicing profile on a very versatile drop point shape. There's really a lot to love about this. This is a right-hand bias knife only though, of course the lock is, and it may look like this pocket clip is reversible because there is a bit of a plate on this side, but it is a right side only. It's actually sits in a milled out pocket that doesn't exist in the same way on the other side. But if you like carrying the knife on your right side, you've got a nice deep carry pocket to go along with it. All this comes together for about 150 bucks right now, and this version, as well as the red and black G10 with carbon fiber, you can only get from us. And we've also got a few different variations with black G10 and some colored inlays, which you saw in the previous week's videos. We'll make sure to leave a link to all of those down below. We're also restocked on the Blink Blades Sphinx flipper, both the trailing point and the Tonto right now. I know these have been out of stock for a while. You guys have been waiting for them. Well, now they're back, coming in at 250 bucks. We've got an M390 blade, and it comes in under 3 inches, about the 2.8 inch mark. We've got a nice upswept profile here with a flat grind, a little bit on the thicker side, so you've got a good bit of strength there, but it's not going to be quite as efficient a cutter as that Reich. I mean, it's just some really good blade geometry there. We've got a titanium frame, and it's essentially a two-piece design. It may look like an integral, but that's actually because the back spacer itself isn't actually a back spacer. It's actually part of that front piece of titanium, and then it meets here right at the back with a really fine seam. Black stone-washed finish all around, and then of course you've got the nice pop of purple there on the back with the right side milled pocket clip in this case. Now the flipping action on these is very nice. And one of the things I like about it is you can see here when it's folded up, it's nice and clean. A very smooth profile with not a whole lot jutting out. Even the flipper tab is just a small protrusion here pointing up, and the blade itself disappears completely inside there. No bit of that is sticking out at all. But it still flips very easily and very nicely. Caged bearings there in the pivot. Lot to like about this design as well, and get them while we've still got them. All right, next up I've got a new Kershaw Launch. This is the Launch 12 CA. Now I think I showed you the Launch 12 a couple of weeks ago. This CA on the end denotes the California compliant intended design, where the blade on this comes in under that 2-inch mark. We're about 1.93, I think, according to our specs. But apart from that, the handle is the same as the standard Launch 12, which of course is the scaled down version of, I think it's the Launch 8, is the full-size version of this stiletto-inspired automatic knife. It's made in America, of course, and the blade here, in addition to being on the shorter side, is CPM 154 stainless steel. Particle steel, better than your standard 154 CM. So you're going to get a really good amount of performance. Considering the price on these, on all the launches, has always been very good. This one comes in at just under $113 right now. There's a few different colors, both for the handle and the blade available right now. This is the stonewash. We've also got a black stonewash, or I guess it's Kershaw. They own the term black wash, so we can use that here. And then those pair with a few different colors. One thing I really like about all the launches, apart from the good price, is the action is always very good. And on the small knives in particular, they seem to feel extra snappy, just because I think the hardware they use is rated for the bigger blades, but it's got a smaller blade to move around here. So it really just pops out there quite nicely. But despite the small size, you've got a decent amount of steel to work with on that edge there. Good little everyday carry, nice nimble little handle. I love the little kind of swoops here or slopes here right towards the front. Makes pinching it very easy for some of those detail grips. And then you've still got enough there behind the quillions to get kind of a 3-finger grip. We've also got a new variant of a Kershaw, a classic Kershaw in this case today, of the Leak. This one comes in at about $64 and has a digital brown aluminum handle. It's a pretty cool pattern. It sort of reminds me somewhere of a cross between like a camouflage as well as like some certain styles of maps somehow. I don't know. But it's pretty cool. It's got sort of a matte texture to it too, so it's not super slick. And it pairs really well with that black washed blade, 14C28N stainless steel. That steel takes a really fine edge very nicely, and of course being a Leak, you've got that modified Wharncliffe with a really fine point as well. Just one of Kershaw's all-time classic EDC designs, and they keep spicing things up because it's remained a very popular design to this day. This is an assisted opening knife, of course, Kershaw's SpeedSafe assisted opening. You've got a torsion bar inside that nicely flips that blade open. Once you start rotating it manually, it takes over and snaps right out. I think out of any knife out there, the Leak has probably found its way into more pockets here at the KnifeCenter just because, like I said, it's an EDC classic. And in addition to this new variation, there's a lot out there to choose from. All right, next we have a new Viper model. This is called the Kotla, and there's a number of different variations released right now. I think we have 11 different ones in stock. They start at about $153, and those versions come with micarta handle scales. This particular version I'm holding right here comes in about $183. This is one of the higher end versions that comes with carbon fiber with a milled pattern here, both on the front and the tail end of the handle itself, and that carries through to both sides. That adds a little bit of extra grip, especially in those pinch grips you might be using this knife in, but you can get it plain without that milling pattern as well. Now this is a liner locking knife. You can see right there we have a nicely inset liner. We've also got a folded over pocket clip that holds things fairly deep. And we've also got some real actual bronze accents right here on the back spacer, which looks quite nice, as well as the pivot collar front and back. So the side you hold is quite nice, but the business end is really nice too. We've got M390 steel, comes in about 3¼ inches long. And it comes in this tanto profile, but it's a fairly subtle tanto. And this is sort of a trend I've been seeing a little bit lately, and I actually kind of like it. I'm more of a drop point person in general. I tend to gravitate away from kind of Western or Americanized tanto types of blades. So I like a subtle tanto like this. It's something I would be more likely to carry. Now you do see a transition on the grind right here. It's not so much an aggressive compound grind, and both of these do have a flat geometry. And of course we have that nice swedge along the back. Going to be a pretty good slicer overall, but it's still going to have a really good amount of strength if you needed to kind of get a little tactical with things. Got some of those nice Italian touches that they like to do. We've got a nicely crowned spine right here. And you also see that on the front end, or the ricasso area of the blade as well. It's not strictly a finger choil for choking up, but it does kind of work as one. Even my bigger fingers are able to get in there no problem. Not so much a full gorilla grip when doing that, but a fingertip type of precision grip on that little area works quite nicely. Now the flipping action on these is also quite good. We've got ball bearings in the pivot. And in addition to that flipper, you've also got thumb studs, so you can pop the blade open that way if you like. And the other thing that's nice that we're seeing more and more of nowadays is the area right here behind the flipper on the inside of the scales has actually been chamfered so that when you do flip, your index finger is going to hit there and have a nice comfortable landing. As I mentioned, we've got other variants, including micarta. I don't have one of those in front of me, but I do have one of the titanium versions. This one comes without the extra milling here at the front and back, but you can get that as well. This one also comes with the black stone-washed blade. But otherwise, it's exactly the same. Not a titanium frame lock. This is still a liner locking titanium knife, or a liner locking knife, just now in titanium, a titanium option. But I love the way it fits in there. It's nested quite nicely, and it just feels really good. And since it's not a frame lock, you're not going to have to worry about pressing on the lock bar at all when you go to flip it open. It's just going to work every time. What I like about these designs is they give you a really high-end feel for a fairly reasonable price. Like I said, this one right here came in just over 180 bucks. So it's not too bad for what you're getting. But if you do want the cream of the crop, if you want to go full custom, I actually brought a few of our customs out that we recently got. And the first is really exciting. This is a custom Nirvana 3.0 from Peter Rosenti. And this one comes in much more expensive as you'd expect because this is a full custom coming in just under $1,700. Now you may remember the Nirvana from the Spyderco version of this knife, which of course is larger, as is the standard Rosenti Nirvana, this 3.0. As you would think, comes with about a 3-inch blade. It's actually just a hair over when you measure from the tip all the way to the handle itself, about 3 1/16. So if that is important where you are, if you need a sub 3-inch or a 3-inch or under blade, this one's not quite going to cut it. But you've got CPM 154 stainless steel, a nice hollow ground blade here, nice and wide, really great shape, and of course that signature hole there that he has license to use from Spyderco. Because of that, you can even do the patented, not so much patented, but you can even do the Spidey flick using your middle finger to flick that blade out. You do have ball bearings in the pivot to keep the action nice and smooth. Or, of course, you can just open it a little more slowly with your thumb. Now, those handles are integral titanium. They've got a nice stone-washed finish going on there. And I really like, especially on this smaller version, the sort of dichotomy between the really wide blade and the narrow handle. I think it works very well. And even for my slightly larger than average hands, I can still get all 4 fingers on this handle. It's really nice in person. I think we put this out on our customs newsletter last week. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't sold yet. But I'm glad it hasn't personally because it means I got to kind of hold it and fondle it a little bit, and I really like it. But this should go before too long. I don't think it's worth waiting around on our shelf, so someone better jump on this. But if you think $1,700 is too much to spend on a 3-inch knife, this next one's a little bit bigger, and it's a bargain, coming in just under $1,000. We've got a new full custom Allen Alicious. This is the M2 folding knife. And the shape might actually look a little familiar to you. For those Hogue fans out there, this is the same shape that the Hogue Deca is based on. But the Deca, of course, is a little bit smaller. This M2 comes with a 3 3/4 inch blade. We've got CTS XHP steel and what he's calling his black snow blade finish. You can see there it's kind of a mottled look going on, but it doesn't feel overly rough. It still feels nice and smooth along that hollow grind. So if you're going to put this to use, it is going to cut quite nicely. Single thumb stud here, and you can see right in front of it, there's actually a small cast logo that's been embedded in the blade rather than a typical maker's mark. It's a really cool little touch. The handles, we've got an antiqued titanium bolster on both sides, so bolsters technically, as well as a chatoyant carbon fiber that comes with some shiny layers in between the fiber layers. You can see them there as they get revealed. Really cool looking. The liner lock here, you can see the liners are jeweled as well as anodized, a sort of purple color. And then there's a really cool row of hourglass-shaped standoffs here right at the back. Definitely not needed for strength, but it does look very cool. It gives it that, kind of an extra special touch there. And of course, a milled titanium pocket clip, similar finish to those bolsters. Now, what I personally appreciate about the way Alan does his knives is even though they're pimped out, they're all kinds of crazy cool looking, they're not just a showpiece. He builds these actually for hard use. To that end, he's actually foregone the use of ball bearings in this particular pivot. This is a traditional washer-based pivot because they tend to be a little bit stronger and less likely to get gummed up with dirt, grit, or dust, that sort of thing. But you can still flick it open quite nicely even so. Just a really cool piece. And like I said, it's about $700 cheaper than that Nirvana, so it's a bargain too. Next up on our some of our high-end knives I brought out today, we've got a really big new batch of pocket butchers from Andre de Viliers, ADV. This particular one comes in at $370, but we've got a bunch of different variants with or without a pocket clip. I especially like the jigged bone versions we have, but this particular one comes with rosewood and 2 copper bands on each side. And this one, of course, also has that pocket clip, as you can see. We've got an N690 blade in this case, in that sort of signature butcher shape, butcher blade shape. Not really a butcher knife, but this is Andre's butcher profile. It's essentially a kind of a cross between a sheep's foot and a Wharncliffe. Really good utility shape and really good steel here as well. Now this particular one has some laser engraved logos or some laser engraved graphics on the bolsters. You've got a ship's steering wheel there, a compass rose, and an anchor, but you can get these without the engravings as well if you prefer. I actually kind of like them, even though I don't boat at all. I just think it's kind of neat for this style of knife in particular. Lock back to keep things secure, so it's not a slip joint or not a non-locking knife. You do have that security. And it closes up quite nicely. You can see there, even when closed, it definitely makes a statement, and then it's certainly making a statement still when you open it up to use it. But like I said, we've got a bunch of different variants. You can go check those out on our site. Yeah, I feel like I should have brought the jig bone over because I really liked that one too. All right, next up we've got a utility knife, and sort of high-end and custom utility knife holders have been pretty hot lately. And this is from Chavez. This is Ultramar Chub, which is Chavez handy utility blade, 2nd generation, coming in at $175. It holds your standard utility blade, but you've got a full titanium frame here. Of course, it's a Chavez, so you've got that signature Chavez pocket clip. And as you can see, there's a seam right here where things screw down because the front side of this, which includes the slider, is all a single piece of titanium. Stonewash finish is going to hold up quite nicely when you actually go to use it. Slider pulls things closed, and of course you do have, in typical utility knife fashion, you've got a few steps so you don't have to fully extend it. That way you can get just the tip of the blade shining out, or if you need the extra reach, go fully extended. What I actually kind of like, or just one of those details I appreciate, is sort of at the midway point, the way the triangular shapes kind of line up is really satisfying. It was really nicely considered, that actual stop, because you see that sort of repeated triangle motif perfectly angled there. Pretty darn cool. Speaking of styles that have been pretty hot lately, the swayback style of traditional pocket knife is having a bit of a moment this year, I think. And we have a new case knife. This is one of the new Tony Bose knives. But unlike some of the Tony Bose knives that they put out, this isn't crazy expensive. This one comes in at just $66. Got that nice, almost mirror finish blade with the Tony Bose signature there on the front. And the spine of it, while not crowned, has been polished. So it's not rough, and you get a little bit of a radius there on the top. They've kept things looking traditional on the handle, but it's actually not strictly traditional. This is actually a micarta handle, black micarta, but it kind of, until you look closely, it looks kind of like some of the old school ebony handled case knives, which is pretty cool. But it's a handy little shape with that Wharncliffe profile going on. Almost 2.5, or just over 2.25 inches long. Case is true sharp stainless steel, which is a 420 variant. Easy to keep sharp, polishes up quite nicely. So for the collectors out there, that's certainly appreciated. But it's just one of those solid budget steels that's just going to keep on working for you. It nestles into the hand quite nicely. If you haven't tried a swayback before, it's kind of a different feel than most knives that kind of curve, or knife handles that curve in this way. But once you get used to it, it is very comfortable and very easy to orient the blade quite nicely, especially with a Wharncliffe like this. It's going to be great for day-to-day stuff like opening boxes and letters. Any of that just kind of everyday stuff that needs a little bit of quick cutting. This is going to be perfect for it, and it carries nice and slim too. All right, just a couple more. I've got a few here from Boker Plus, some pretty reasonably priced knives, especially this first one for what you're getting. This is the Petite 42, designed by Philippe Georget. I think I'm saying his name right. Coming in just under 79 bucks. And what's interesting about this, it is a frame locking knife, and you do have a nice blade here coming in under that 3-inch mark. We're calling it a Wharncliffe on our site, but it does kind of, it's one of those in between. It almost feels a little bit like a sheep's foot, but we'll keep going with Wharncliffe because the point itself is acute enough to do some really nice piercing. D2 steel, almost a full flat grind. As I said, stainless steel frame lock, but the interesting thing, no flipper, no thumb studs. This is a 2-hand opening knife. You really have to get in there with the second hand to open it. And while that may turn off some, the reason for that, Boker, of course, being a European company, they've got a lot of different regulations to deal with over there. So I think this is really going to be appreciated by folks who want the security and the style of a frame locking knife, but they can't have a one-hand opening knife that also locks open. Sounds pretty silly, I know, but it's really good to see that there's a product that caters to that. And it really is a 2-finger knife or a 2-hand knife. Someone might be able to manage it with one hand. It is, yeah, it is really tricky to get in there though. You have to kind of pinch. That's actually the first time I successfully did it. I was trying it earlier at my desk and my fingers kept slipping. So yeah, take that for what you will. But it's a great little utility shape, nice little size for everyday carry. It's going to virtually disappear in your pocket in terms of size. It's not a lightweight. You may feel the weight just a little bit. Comes in, what are we at? 4 ounces, so not too bad. But we've got some nice touches on the lock bar here in terms of the chamfering and the scalloping actually that goes on right there. Closes off nicely here at the back. Looks like a G10 backspacer and a nice lanyard point there. Just a really classy piece. Again, less than 80 bucks. The next one is a little bit more expensive, coming in just under 90. And this is sort of their take on an affordable tactical knife. This is the Thunderstorm, designed by Boris Manasherov. In this case, we've got a 3.6-inch blade, AUS-8 stainless steel, and a black aluminum frame. But of course, the highlight here, button lock mechanism here. This is not a simple lock back or frame lock. You actually have the security of that button lock, which with a solid piece of steel going this way along the blade, you don't have sort of an angled surface like a frame lock or a liner lock would. So the security of a button lock tends to be pretty robust as a result. Got a very full handle going on here. Even larger hands, I think, are going to have no problem here. And no finger choil on this one, but you do have a sort of flat spot here. Reminds me a little bit of the Ontario Rat 1. Gives you a little flat spot. You can choke up to get a little bit of finer control there. Furthering the tactical nature, on the back you do have that glass breaker or skull crusher pommel there. And that also holds the deep carry pocket clip in, which is reversible for left or right carry. Now you do have some thumb studs, which you can use to open the blade if you like, but being a button lock, you actually have the advantage of being able to push the button and wrist flick it closed. And that also works on the open as well. It is going to take a little bit of wrist action on this one because it's not the smoothest, or it's not the, it is smooth, but it's not the freest floating pivot because again, they went with standard washers here to keep things a little bit stronger and a little bit less susceptible to dirt and grit. But you can flip it open like that if you like. And of course, the other advantage of the button lock, when you're closing it, you can keep your fingers out of the path of the blade, which again is one of those features. Well, I guess I shouldn't say again, but if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you know that that's a feature I definitely appreciate. All right, that's all I've got to show you this week. Thanks for sticking around. Make sure to let us know in the comments which one of these knives you liked the most. And if you want to get your hands on any of them, we will leave links, as I said, in the description, and that'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're over there, make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to buy one of these cool knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm David C. Anderson from the KnifeCenter signing off. I hope you're all staying safe, sane, and sanitary out there. See you next time.